Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us. Today we are studying Srimadbhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 2. Hare Krishna, please join us for Jai Radha Mother prayers. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Grantha Srimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavind ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we will be covering Srimadbhagavatam 11th Canto, Chapter 2. So this is the pastime, beautiful picture of Devashi Narad being worshipped by Vasudeva, father of Lord Vasudeva Krishna. And he is taking amazing instructions. So please join us. We'll be starting with Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiryet. Shrutam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Hirbhadrani Vidunoti Suhatsatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtiki. Hare Krishna. So today we'll be studying Srimadbhagavatam 11th Canto, Chapter 2. Mahārāja Nimi meets the 9 Yogendras. And there are some amazing pictures in this book. As we can see, of course, this is where Vasudeva is worshipping Devashi Narad and asking for instructions. And the same picture has been revealed along with King Nimi welcoming the Yogendras. So here we see Vasudeva, father of Lord Vasudeva Krishna, worshipping Devashi Narad and asking for instructions. And here we see the Yogendras, they are coming from the skyway, right? Akash Marg. And at the sacrificial arena where King Nimi, king of Videha, he was performing, he was about to perform fire sacrifice, and everybody stood up looking at them. And he welcomes them. And he inquires from them amazing questions. So today we'll be covering qualities of loving and caring devotees, the Vaishnavas, the pure Vaishnavas of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotees of Lord Krishna. Please join us for the recitation of the first verse of Srimadbhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shukuvacha.
Govinda Bhuja Guptayam.
Govind Bhuja Guptayam.
Dwaravatyam Karudvaha.
Dwaravatyam Kurudvaha.
Avatsin Narado Abhikshanam.
Avatsin Narado Abhikshanam.
Krishnopasana Lalasaha.
Krishnopasana Lalasa.
Please.
Shri Shukuvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Govinda Bhuja Guptayam.
Govinda Bhuja Guptayam.
Dwaravatyam Kurudvaha.
Dwaravatyam Kurudvaha.
Avatsin Narado Abhikshanam.
Avatsin Narado Abhikshanam.
Krishnopasana Lalasa.
Krishnopasana Lalasaha. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shukuvacha.
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Shri Shukdev Goswami said,
Govinda,
Govinda,
of Lord Govinda,
of Lord Govinda,
Bhuja,
Bhuja,
by the arms, Guptayam,
Guptayam, protected,
Dwaravatyam,
Dwaravatyam,
in the capital Dwarvati, Kuru Udvaha,
Kuru Udvaha,
O best of the Kurus, Avatsit, dwelled, Naradaha, Narad Muni, Abhikshanam, constantly, Krishna Upasana, to engage in the worship of Krishna, Lalasaha,
Lalasa,
who had great eagerness.
who had great eagerness.
Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shukdev Goswami said, eager to engage in the worship of Lord Krishna, O best of the Kurus, Narad Muni stayed for some time in Dwarka, which was always protected by the arms of Govinda. Purport: in the second chapter of this canto, Bhagavad Dharma or pure devotional service to Krishna is explained by Narad Muni to Vasudev, who had inquired with devotion. Narad Muni cites a conversation between King Nimi and the Jayantesa. According to Jiva Goswami, the word Abhikshanam indicates that although Narad Muni was frequently sent by Lord Krishna here and there for various pastimes, such as inquiring about the affairs of the world, Narad continuously returned to reside in Dwarka. The word Krishnopasana Lalasaha indicates that Narad was very eager to be near Krishna and worship him. Because of the curse of Daksha, Narad is never allowed to live continuously in one place. Sridhar Swami, however, has pointed out, Na tasyam shapadehe prabhavaha. In Dwarka, there is no influence of curses or other such evils. Because Dwarka is the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is always protected by His arms, as shown by the word Govinda Bhuja Guptayam. The conditioned souls are struggling within the kingdom of Maya against the cruel laws of material nature, such as birth, death, old age and disease. But if such conditioned soul have the good fortune to enter the city of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether Dwarka, Mathura or Vrindavan, and live there under the direct protection of the omnipotent arms of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, they will experience the unlimited transcendental bliss of real life, which is eternal and which is meant to be lived in the personal company of God. Hare Krishna. Please join us for the Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Om Jnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So as we see here, this is after the curse has been spoken, the curse upon the Yadu dynasty. And this curse was given by the sages, so Brahmanas, they were involved, the Vaishnava Brahmanas. Because the descendants of Yadu dynasty, they had, means Samba, was dressed like in the garb of a woman and was presented in front of the sages at Pindaraka, a holy place about 2 miles in Gujarat from the shore. It's still called Pindarak. And that's where they, the Yadavas, Pradyumna and others, cousin and half brothers, so many of them, they inquired from the sages that this woman is expecting a son, but could you please tell if she is going to bear a son or a daughter? And at that time, the sages, they became angry. Right? The exalted sages who had just performed a fire sacrifice for Vasudeva. And they had been sent to Pindarak on the instructions of Lord Krishna, Lord Vasudeva Krishna. So father's name is Vasudeva and Lord is, son of Vasudeva, and he is called as Vasudeva. So again, it is very interestingly that when Lord Krishna, he is actually trying to deliver, he has already delivered the burden of earth, but now he is thinking of the burden of love. The Yadavas, who are so powerful that nobody can defeat them. Forget about anybody defeating them. Nobody can insult them. They were so powerful. They have the same potency as Lord Krishna. So this is where, we understand that Father's strength is always behind the Son. And since they had taken shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, they were endowed with all the potencies, all the facilities that Lord Krishna has. So this is where Lord Krishna is showing us that in the spiritual world, in the spiritual universes, when a devotee enters, then they have all these abilities, yet at the same time they have only one motive, to please Lord Krishna all the time. So it is, there is no past and future. Everyone is thinking in the present moment. And what's the thought? How can I please Lord Krishna? So these are the exalted qualities, how one comes to that level of constantly thinking of pleasing Lord Krishna, constantly in the mood of serving Lord Krishna. And why do we do that? Why do devotees do that? Because by doing that, we derive immense pleasure. And so there are some amazing lessons in today's, in this chapter that we'll be discussing today. And there is conversation in conversation in conversation. So we talked about the three motives that Lord Krishna had. First is to deliver the burden of the earth. And who had taken this mission on? Vasudeva Krishna, who was in Dwarka. While Lord Krishna, he never steps out of Vrindavan, right? We talked about this. So Lord Krishna never steps out of Vrindavan, yet he expands unlimitedly. So he expands as Lord Balaram, and Balaram expands as Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. And these four personalities are responsible for the complete management of material universes. Spiritual universes, 75% of the total number of universes. Material universes are 25%. So 75 plus 25 is 100%. So these are all the universes. And in these 25% of the universes, they are said to be unlimited. So you can imagine how much more is unlimited of 3 times of unlimited would be the spiritual universes. But it's very interesting to see that Lord Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, had taken 3 aspects. He's looking at 3 aspects. First, he had already delivered the burden of the earth, which is annihilating the demons. And he employed Lord Balaram, the Yadavas and the Pandavas, or very close associates, pure devotees of Lord Krishna. Second was burden of love. So the curse of on the Yadu dynasty by the Brahmanas is the initiation of that project, as he has, that initiative that he has taken up. So he's letting everything go on as it is. And the third one is to make sure that all of the Vishnu Tattvas are residing at their respective positions. So when Lord Krishna appears in the material universe, he appears with all his portions and plenary portions. And when he departs, of course he doesn't, when he comes with his entourage, right? All his associates and his portions and plenary portions. So when he leaves, then he takes all these portions and plenary portions along with his associates, and they go to their respective positions. So many of the demigods who are inimical to Lord Krishna, why? Because having taken birth in Yadu dynasty and seeing that they are as powerful as Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna is not appearing as a king of Yadavas. King Ugrasen is Yaduraj, right? He is the king of the Yadu dynasty. So they are thinking that he is just like us. And sometimes this is how people get bewildered. They're thinking, Krishna is just, 2-arm form, just like a man, and we are men, so, he is just like common man. They don't realize that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, and he has unlimited potency. And being, so benevolently disposed towards a living entity, he is showing that he is ready to share all that belongs to him, just like an affectionate father, he who is ready to give everything to his son and share everything with his sons. Similarly, he is showing. But some of the demigods who were born in the Yadu dynasty were inimical, and they were not fully surrendered to the will of Lord Krishna. While this is being said, at the same time, all the Yadavas, so together, all the others were, serving Lord Krishna, believing him that is their heart and soul. So how do you sometimes understand these aspects? So there are 3 levels have been identified. First is sometimes people take to, God consciousness, Krishna consciousness because of fear. They are constantly tormented in this material world, and they say, okay, I am feeling all this, fearfulness. My life is full of distress. How do I get out of all this distress? Then, one of the way Acharyas explain is that when one takes to devotional service, one becomes fearless. There's no more fear. So that's something everyone wants. So they take to consciousness because they are fearful of this material energy, of this, surviving in this world. Now, the second kind is they take it as part of duty. What is the purpose of my life? I'm a living entity, not this body. Living entity is an eternal servant of God, so I should serve God. So that is a matter of duty. Following prescribed duty is to serve Lord Krishna. Even exalted than that duty level is Ananya Bhakti, pure devotional service. And here, this is at the platform of love, prema. So one understands not just God is great, but also how great God is, how a kind Father He is. Lord Krishna says, Mam evamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So all these living entities, all the souls in this material world, not just the human beings, but also insects, birds, aquatics, beasts, and so forth, they are all, living entities are residing in these various material bodies, and so jiva bhuta sanatana. And living entities eternal in nature. And Lord is so merciful that He expands as super soul, and He resides in our heart, giving us the direction, provided we are ready to take the direction. So that is the freedom aspect. He doesn't want us to be slaves. Rather, He is looking for that love and affection. That's why Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, that one who offers me with love and devotion, even a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or little water, I will accept it. The most important aspect is love and devotion. So when one offers with devotion, and devotion has been used twice in that verse, because Lord Krishna, He doesn't want our things. What's the value of our things? Srila Prabhupada says. Everything has been provided to us by Lord Krishna. Even the body that we receive is provided to us by the costless mercy of Lord Krishna. So what's the value? Yet at the same time, our love, our devotion, that is something we can offer. So we may be offering all these things, but what is most important is the love and the devotion, with that feeling of affection, that feeling of gratitude, that feeling of having a loving exchange with Lord, who is so merciful to us. And that platform is the highest platform. And today we'll be discussing how we can rise to that highest platform and how we can have this conversation with Lord directly, one-on-one, pratyakshvavagmam dharmyam. Having pure realization, clear realization of our activities. So the chapter starts with Devashi Narad. He comes back to Dwarka. Now sometimes people wonder, why was Devashi Narad coming back again and again to Dwarka? So Srila Prabhupada, he reveals in Krishna book that Devashi Narad wanted to be so much close to Lord Krishna that he was practically residing in Dwarka. Lord Krishna would send him for some work, he would do that work and he would come back. Aniruddha being abducted and imprisoned by Banasur, he comes back and informs Lord Krishna that this has happened. Every time something is happening, he would inform Lord Krishna that this is happening. So he's constantly coming back to Dwarka because he wanted, even the Parivarajacharya, right? One who does not have a residence. So as a sannyasi, he doesn't have a residence. That was also because of the curse of Daksha. Daksha had cursed him that he would not have any residence. And so, anyway, and Devashi Narad accepted that curse. However, when we hear about Prahlad Maharaj's 7th canto, at the time when Hiranyakashipu had gone to do this great meditation, at that time the demigods had attacked his capital city, and Indra was taking away Kayadu, wife of Hiranyakashipu. Why was he taking her away? Because he knew that she is pregnant, and he was thinking that a snake's son would be a snake. So similarly, a Hiranyakashipu, who is a great demon, even though he is half brother, half cousin. He's a great demon, so his son will also be a demon, so I should kill him as soon as he's born. That's why he was taking. But Devashi Narad came, he said, no, this is a Mahābhagavat. In her womb is a Mahābhagavat. So all the demigods, they circumambulated her. And then it is said that Devashi Narad took her to his ashram. Now people get surprised that how could Devashi Narad have an ashram when he is Parivarajakchari? He doesn't have a house. He cannot reside at a place. That is because Lord Krishna had revealed to Devashi Narad that in Vrindavan, which is a spiritual world, he can reside, right? Because that is not part of the material world. So he had actually had an ashram in Vrindavan. So that was another pastime we discussed earlier as why that was a boon, that was revealed to Devashi Narad. And he was able to keep Kayadu there, and he was giving her instructions on a daily basis about Bhagavad Dharma. So we will be discussing Bhagavad Dharma today, as how pure devotional service is to be performed to please Lord Krishna, to show our love for Lord Krishna, to show how grateful we are for this life, for this opportunity to be able to go back home. So this human birth, this human body is a perfect boat that can be used to cross over this Bhavsagar, this material world. And so this is where we would be studying. And so Devashi Narad was coming back to Dwarka again and again. Why? Because Dwarka is part of spiritual world. So he could come back again and again. So after the curse has been said, what had happened? The young boys. Why are they called young boys when Pradyumna, Samba, they were actually father of young boys? Because they were always Navyavana, so they were always youthful. Their age was near 16 years. They always looked like 16 years of age, even though they were much older. And just like Lord Krishna, he was much older, but he always looked like, about 16 years, 15 years, 10 months and so. So they always looked because of the potency of Lord Krishna being endowed to them, being passed on to them. And that's why they have been referred to as young boys of Yadu dynasty. When they heard this curse, what was the curse? Devashi Narad in anger said that no, she will give birth to a club that will be the cause of destruction of your whole dynasty. So this is also being incited by Lord Krishna. So again, Lord Krishna is causing him to get, to say this curse. And also, this is the same way we are also understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. Being compassionate, Arjun was put in this position of bewilderment. He was a pure devotee. He was an exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada explains that Arjun was placed in that delusion by the influence of Yog Maya, who was serving Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna desired that this is the perfect time for me to impart this wonderful knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, for future generations, for us to take it, because it's also called manual for mankind. So this, when we are born, we are not born with a manual. Just like when you buy a car, you get a manual. You buy a machine, you get a manual. But when we are born, there is no manual. So Bhagavad Gita as it is acts as a manual for us in a human form. So we should take this very dear to our heart and understand the essence. And devotional service has been again and again taught in Bhagavad Gita as it is. And Srila Prabhupada, with his translator ecstasies, his purpose, he's revealing this in very simple way so that we can understand this amazing secret. Rajavidra Rajaguyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Patrak Shvavagamam Dharmam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. Rajavidya Rajaguyam. So, Bhagavad Gita, the devotional service is being revealed to us as Rajavidya, the king of all knowledge. Rajaguhyam, it is the king of all secrets. It is the biggest secret that there is. Pavitram, it is all pure. Idam Uttamam, and it is the topmost. Pratyakshvavagvam dharmyam. Pratyakshvavagvam dharmyam is we can directly experience it. It is a realization. When we engage in this process, then we experience it. It is not something theoretical, right? So it is very important for us to understand from that perspective that it is practical knowledge. And susukam kartum avyayam. And it is performed with pleasure, very nicely, susukam, and it gives amazing happiness, amazing satisfaction, transcendental bliss to us when we engage in performing devotional service. So now that is a blessing. And what is that? Ananya Bhakti, the most confidential knowledge to engage in pure devotional service. Ananya means no other. The object of worship is Lord Krishna. He is the object of our devotional service. Every activity that we do should be done for the pleasure of the Lordship. So in service of Lord Krishna, to give him pleasure, and he is Govinda. So when we serve him, all our senses are satisfied, right? Govinda means one who gives pleasure to the senses, and another meaning is one who gives pleasure to the cows. So Go refers to senses as well as cows. So we get amazing pleasure. So in the very first verse, Devashi Narada is revealing, means in the purpose revealed, that Dwarka, why was he coming back to Dwarka? Because it was protected by the mighty arms of Lord Krishna, Lord Govinda. So he was protecting the whole of Dwarka, which is spiritual realm. And when Devashi Narada comes, Vasudev, he worships Devashi Narada. So this is where we learn when a Brahman comes, especially a Vaishnava Brahman comes at our home. And furthermore is a Vaishnava Sannyasi Brahman, if he comes to our home, we should immediately, offer him an exalted seat. We should worship him, wash his feet and sprinkle the waters on our head and on the head of our family members, because it is all purifying. A representative of Lord is not a small thing, Srila Prabhupada said. Many times, journalists would ask Srila Prabhupada, that why are devotees, they're coming with this, luxurious cars to pick you up from airports. And Srila Prabhupada said, actually, a representative of God is not a small thing. Just like an ambassador goes to another country, excuse me, an ambassador goes to another country, they are treated just as the president of that country has come. So representative of God is not another thing. And when they are coming with this car, they should not come with this car. They should come with a golden version of this car. It should be made out of gold. So the journalists would get shocked. And he's not just saying come in a luxurious car, but come in a golden luxurious car. So how do you, show your reverence? How do you show your gratitude? How do you show your love with God? By giving the very best thing. And Lord Krishna himself is showing, means when Satyajit came with the Samantika jewel, wearing Samantika jewel, Lord Krishna instructed him that the best thing should be offered to the king. And Lord Krishna himself is the king of all kings, right? He is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he should be offered the best we can offer. Yet at the same time, we should not be proud of, I'm offering you the best thing that I have. Rather, we should be grateful that you provided me this so that I can offer. And so this is your greatness, Paurishya. All ability in man is coming from Lord Krishna. So all our abilities are coming from Lord Krishna. So we are only engaging our abilities in serving Lord Krishna with love and devotion. So that's the topmost platform. Then comes duty and then comes fear. So we should be at that, working on that topmost platform. And even if we are on a lower platform, when we hear this chapter again and again, the blessing is endowed to all the wonderful hearers, listeners of this chapter, so that we realize how wonderful God is and how one can love God. And what are the important characteristics, the exalted qualities of a pure Vaishnava, a pure devotee of Lord Shri Krishna, that we should try to practice and try to envision and learn to move forward on our path towards loving Lord Krishna. Now in this chapter, as we hear, there are conversations in conversations. Shivdev Goswami is speaking Srimadbhagavatam 2, he is narrating Srimadbhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. And later on, Srimadbhagavatam is spoken by Sutta Goswami at Naimisharanya to the sages. Their spokesperson is Shanaka Rishi. And here, Shivdev Goswami is talking about a pastime where Devashi Narad, Sage Narad, he is visiting Dwarka and Vasudeva is worshipping him and inquiring from him about spiritual path. And Devashi Narad, hearing this question from Vasudeva, because Vasudeva is feeling that now that all the Yadu dynasty would be annihilated, and so I will go back to whatever my state is, and I have not yet, attained purity. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains in Krishna book as well as here in the purport, it's explained by his disciples that this is a great quality of a pure devotee. A pure devotee never thinks that he is an exalted devotee, he is a pure devotee. He is always considering himself to be a lowly devotee, patita, a fallen person. So Vasudeva is now feeling that why did I perform this thousands of celestial years of austerity, and when Lord gave me the boon, I asked for the Lord to become my son. Why did I ask that? Why did I not ask for liberation? And that has been revealed earlier in the previous chapter. We talked about it, that when a devotee, when we get this affection to hearing about Lord's pastimes, when we get attraction to hearing about Lord's pastimes, and we start engaging in devotional service, and all our impurities are washing away. And it all starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So as our heart is getting cleansed of all the impurities, then the next opportunity Lord gives us is He allows us to be His associate in another pastime. So we get to participate in Lord's pastime in one of the material universes, not in this, but could be in any other material universe. And after we have engaged in Lord's pastimes and served Him with love and devotion and further purified, then He allows us the entry in this spiritual world. So that is how. And wherever Lord is, that is spiritual world. So in reality, even if we are, participating in Lord's pastime in any of the material universe, because Lord is there with us, it is a spiritual world. Yet at the same time, we get to go back home, back to Godhead after that pastime, when we do it very nicely. So the demigods had received that opportunities, but some of them became inimical. Why? Because they thought that Lord Krishna is on the same level as them, same potency, same abilities. Then they could not appreciate. Familiarity breeds contempt. They could not appreciate His exalted position, His loving fatherly emotions, His affection as Father for His sons. And they mistook it. So Lord Krishna just sent them back to the demigods' positions that they were. As administrators, they went back to those positions. Many demigods, like Akrura and others, they went back to Godhead, back home. So that has been very nicely explained. Now here, Vasudeva is lamenting, but he's a pure devotee. So that will be revealed by Devaki Narad later on. And he wants to hear about, how can he become affectionate. But before Devaki Narad could say that you already are a pure devotee, he poses himself. He places he puts his request in a manner that Devaki Narad is, now he is bound to discuss. Because what Vasudeva is saying when he is praying and after worshipping Devaki Narad, he says that I should have asked to get liberated. And Devaki Narad understands that he is a liberated personality. He is actually on his second stage where he is participating in Lord's pastime. Yet at the same time he is not aware. But why? Because Yoga Maya has made him forget that position. But he, having heard so much glories of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram's position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, now he is coming out of that and he is getting this awe and reverence towards Lord Krishna. And so he is asking all this, making all these inquiries, not realizing that he is a pure devotee. So in the previous birth as Prishni and Sutapa, right? Prishni is the wife, Sutapa's wife. They perform austerities for many, many years, so many thousands of celestial years. And they ask Lord to appear as their son. So Lord appears, Prishni Garbha. And further, afterwards, when they appeared as, Prishni appeared as Aditi and Sutapa appeared as Kashyapa Muni, Lord again took birth as the 12th son. Upendra, we also know him as Vaman Dev. And then Lord Krishna, he comes as Vasudev Krishna, son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Vasudeva is an expansion of Kashyapa Muni. So now it is very interesting that at this particular time, Kashyapa Muni is also present because he did participate in the fire sacrifice, so the same Kashyapa Muni. And then Vasudeva is also present, father of Lord Vasudeva. And then Sutapa and Prishni were also present. So again, how could that be possible, right? So Jiva Tattvas, the living entities, can expand up to 9 times. And if Lord is merciful, then they can expand into unlimited times. Now this is contradictory at times. So Acharyas make it very easy because Krishna, he can do whatever he wants to. So when he was marrying those 16,100 princesses, after they were saved and brought from the palace of Bhaumasur, also known as Narkasur. So at that time he allowed all his associates, his parents and the other Yadavas and Ugrasen and all of them, so Devaki, Vasudeva and the sages, they were able to participate simultaneously in all 16,100 marriages. And that is amazing because this time Lord decided that everyone should participate in every event. So everybody got to participate because of the potency of Lord Krishna. He even allowed his potency of unlimited expansion because he expanded into 16,108 to be individually present with each of his queens. So here he allowed that everyone should be present. So we have the ability to expand up to 9 times. So that's why different personalities are present. Just like we have Uddhav who is present, and he is also one of the Vasus, and Vasu is also present. So that Vasu who prayed at the day of Yor, that please make me your close, intimate associate and give me the opportunity to serve you on a personal basis. So now that expansion was Uddhav as a cousin of Lord Krishna, a disciple of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. And he looked like Krishna, he served Krishna, he only wore what was remnants coming from Lord Krishna. What Lord Krishna discarded as his clothes, he would give it to Uddhav and Uddhav would wear that. So that's why Uddhav looked very much like Krishna, because of his features were similar to Krishna. And that was his prayer when he was Vasu, as Vasu in the day of Yor. Yor means when there were no palaces, no residential quarters. Everyone was living in jungle-like setting, natural setting. It is very difficult to imagine now with COVID-19 having that kind of setting. But those were the days, even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, everyone was living in that setting. So that's normally in the beginning of the day of Brahma, when he has created all the living entities, the demigods, the administrators and so forth. And then they go on and further expansion happens of different kind of celestial palaces get built and so forth. So here, Vasudeva is inquiring in a very submissive mood. He's a pure devotee, yet at the same time Devashi Narad is smiling and he is like, okay, he's giving me an opportunity. And then he congratulates Vasudeva that what you are asking is a very exalted topic. You want to hear how to love Lord Krishna, and that is for the welfare of whole humanity. And in the purport, it's very nicely given that Shukdev Goswami similarly congratulated earlier when he appeared and at the bank of Ganges, where Parishad Maharaj was ready to fast for 7 days, 7 nights, and until death, basically. So he was cursed that in 7 days he would die. So when he saw Shukdev Goswami, he welcomed Shukdev Goswami and inquired from him, what is the duty of a man? And then what is the duty of one who is about to die? And so Shukdev Goswami, he said that you are talking about, you want to hear about the glorious pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, and that question is glorious in itself. So sometimes people say there are no stupid questions, but they are glorious questions. So this is a glorious question. Similarly, later on when Sutta Goswami, he goes to Namasharanya, and all the sages seeing Sutta Goswami, they say, oh, this is such a wonderful time. We were engaged in all this fire sacrifice with all this black smoke coming out of the fire. Our body is like, turning black with all this ash falling on our body, and our eyes are burning. And now Sutta Goswami has come. He will tell us nice stories, nice pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. How wonderful devotees are lovingly, serving Lord Krishna, and how Lord Krishna is lovingly reciprocating with his devotees. So we get to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when they ask Sutta Goswami, please tell us about the pastimes, those 6 questions by the sages, that's in the first canto that we have discussed in the past. So those are being discussed, and Sutta Goswami, he is very happy, and he congratulates all the sages. The spokesperson is Shaunaka Rishi. He's congratulating all the sages for those glorious questions they have asked, because it is for the benefit of all humanity. So here, similarly, Devashi Narad, he is congratulating Vasudev, father of Lord Vasudev, that your questions are all glorious. And as he says, after that, he is reminded of his spiritual master. He's saying that you reminded me of my spiritual master, Shri Narayan Rishi. So Narayan Rishis, they are in the north at Badrika Ashram. And of course, Devashi Narad is saying spiritual master, because we can have many spiritual master, but we can only have, among the spiritual master, there is also differentiation, 3 levels. One is Patadashi, right? One who shows you to the path of devotional service, make us realize what's the purpose of life. So that is initially, and we can meet this Srila Prabhupada says, could be a Madhyamadhikari. A Madhyamadhikari who could just tell you, please chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and be happy. It will invoke this mood to serve the Lordship, to engage, start your journey in, your spiritual journey. Then the second level is where we see the second category is that of instructing gurus, right? Shiksha gurus. So they provide us instructions, help us understand what is Bhagavad Gita, what is Srimadbhagavatam. And they could also be on the Madhyam Adhikari level, as well as Uttam Adhikari. So they would also enable us to understand that, yes, we know God is great, but how great He is, and how wonderful are His devotees. And why is Devashinara saying? Because Vasudev put him in that position, that you are not just merciful to the general populace, but you even purify the pure devotees. So now if Devashinara had this doubt that, to say you are pure devotee, now he has heard that Vasudev is saying that you purify the pure devotees. So he has to go in that direction. And remembering this, that this reminds him of his spiritual master, Shri Narayan Rishi. So he is glorifying Vasudev, that you made me remember Shri Narayan Rishi. Yes, when one is serving Lord Shri Krishna, we could be so much engaged in serving Lord Krishna in our devotional service. We could be so engaged that sometimes we may forget about one of our spiritual masters. That can happen. So he is identifying that your question is so glorious that it made me remember. Now this is also very interesting, that we always say, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And all of the rules and regulations are just subservient to these 2 rules. Yet at the same time, when we remember our spiritual master, that's even glorious, because their instructions further reinforce our remembrance with how wonderful Lordship is, with this understanding, with this realization that He is so wonderful. So Devashi Narad is glorifying at that time. And here, then he starts narrating a pastime. So now there are like 5 levels of pastimes. Sutta Goswami at Naimisharanya, Shukdev Goswami at the bank of Ganges with Parikshit Maharaj, Vasudev getting instructions from Devashi Narad, and he is telling about the instructions he received. This is a pastime that Shri Narayan Rishi shared with him. And that the 5th one is that once the king of Videha, King Nimi, he was performing a great sacrifice, a fire sacrifice. And at that time, Yogendras, the 9 Yogendras, they appeared at the sacrificial arena. They came from Akash Marg. So they came, walking through the air from the sky. And when they came, everybody got up. So the priests who were performing, the sacrifice, all the Brahmanas who were gathered, everybody got up. And even the fire, Agnidev, he got up. So it's shown that the fire really rose very high. So that has been very nicely depicted, as we see in this. So that is to identify that even the fire got up, looking at Navyogendras. And King Nimi, seeing everyone's reaction, he realized that these must be exalted personalities. And as we see in this picture, there is effulgence coming out of their body, because they were at the equal level. So Devashi Narada is explaining that these Yogendras, the 9 Yogendras, were at the same level as the 4 Kumaras who decided to stay in a childlike body. But these Yogendras had they were adults, and they had, grown up bodies, yet at the same time they didn't wear any clothes. So just like Chaturkumaras, children, they don't need to wear any clothes. So we are okay with that. But suddenly we hear that Yogendras, the 9 Yogendras, they didn't wear any clothes, and they would freely roam around because they were not in the body consciousness. They are in spiritual consciousness. So we have to understand from that perspective. It is our mundane eyes that try to discriminate with these views. Sometimes it's very interesting that we hear, if one is not in devotee attire, then some devotees are telling them, you should be in devotee attire. Well, if the person is already exalted, who are we to tell them, right? I'll give you an example. His Holiness Hridayanand Maharaj, he came to our home, and it was almost like 11 o'clock. And he found the keyboard. And we started, he started playing keyboard. He loves to play keyboard. So he started playing keyboard, and we were chanting and dancing. It was 1 a.m. at night, but we were, chanting, and Harinam was going on. And we were enjoying it. Now, later on, when I was discussing that yesterday, till 1 a.m. we were, singing and dancing. Somebody heard me, and they immediately corrected me. Oh, Prabhu, you shouldn't be doing this, you should go to bed at the right time. By 9:30 you should be in bed. And I was like, okay. So sometimes people get bewildered. So I just accepted, yes, Prabhu, you're very right. Thank you so much for correcting me. I'll make sure that I will go. But then I was not in body consciousness. We did not have the consciousness because we were in the presence of a pure devotee. We were in the presence of a wonderful Vaishnava who had made us forget who we were. We were completely in spiritual consciousness, and we were just laughing and smiling and just dancing. So sometimes things happen. So when Yogendras appeared, King Nimi didn't first recognize who these personalities were. But as soon as he saw that everybody got up, even the priests got up, and at that time the planet Earth was known as Ajanab because, and then later on it is described as Devashi Narad, that previously it was known as Bharatvash because of King Bharat. So all that wonderful description is being identified in this particular chapter. And as these Yogendras, they appear, so Devashi Narad, for the benefit of Vasudeva and us, he is explaining that Swayambhuva Manu, he had a son, Priyavrata. And Priyavrata, he had a son, Yogendras, okay. So, Agnidhar, and Agnidhar's son was Nabhi, and Nabhi's son was Rishabdev. Now Rishabdev, we have discussed about these personalities in previous cantos, 5th canto and so forth. So here, King Nabhi had a son, Rishabdev, and Rishabdev was an expansion of Lord Vasudeva. So he's an incarnation. And he gave instructions to his 100 sons. So the eldest one was Bharat. Bharat Maharaj, we heard how in 3 lifetimes he was able to go back home, back to Godhead. Why 3 lifetimes? Why not 1 lifetime? Because when he was King Bharat, after giving up his beautiful queen and his kingdom, he engaged in devotional service in a forest. There he saved a newly born baby of a deer. So he got attached to this deer, and that was the cause of his fall down, because at the last moment of his life, moment of death, he remembered the deer instead of remembering Lord Krishna. So, yum yum verse comes into effect, right? I know it could be prasadam time for you. It is prasadam time for us. So, yum yum was basically yum yum vapi smaran bhavam tajyantant kalevaram tam tam me veti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita yum yum vapi smaran bhavam. So whatever one thinks at the time of death, tajyanta antakalevaram. So antakale is the last moment of life, which is the moment of death. Tam tam eveti kantya. To that destination one goes. So the mind is our carrier that takes us to that destination, whatever we are thinking at the last moment of our life. So if we are thinking of Lord Krishna, then we go back home, back to Godhead. But Bharat Maharaj at that time was thinking of deer. So he got the body of a deer. But by Lord's mercy, he remembered his life as Bharat Maharaj. So he was always looking for sadhu sangha, devotee association. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi haya. So just by a momentary association of a devotee, one can attain all kind of siddhis. And the best one is liberation. So he was constantly, visiting Rishi ashrams and seeking devotee association. So by Lord's mercy, after that life of a deer, he gets to get birth in a Brahman's family. And his name is also Bharat. But since he's showing himself to be dull because his father wants to teach him Vedas, and he is a devotee, he remembers his past two births. He doesn't want to get entangled in the Vedas, the scripture that deals with the three modes of material nature and all the Vedic rituals and so forth. He's at the highest level. Vedas is like a marketplace. They talk about all subject matters. And if you go to a marketplace, you will feel many people at grocery stores. You will feel a huge amount of people in the vegetable shops and so forth. How many people would you see in a diamond shop? Only one or two, right? Those who are really looking at the highest. So in Vedas, all other, Karma Kand, Gyan Kand, all these are discussed. And Bhakti is a very small section. That's like the diamond shop. So not everybody gets attracted to Bhakti. And that's why even after writing Vedas, Vyasadeva was not, pleased. He was feeling void. He was feeling, some kind of distress. He was not feeling that he has fully achieved what he set out to do. And at that time, Devashi Narad, he visited Vyasadeva. And he said, because you have not glorified Lord Krishna enough. So Devashi Narad acted as a spiritual master for Vyasadeva, giving him the direction. And so Vyasadeva wrote Srimadbhagavatam, which is like the rising sun after Lord Krishna departed for his abode. So this is where we, people in the Kali age, will get the torchlight through Bhagavatam so that we can find our path back home, back to Godhead. So this is the torchlight that we have. This is the rising sun of this Kali age. And Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be non-different from Lord Krishna. So how amazing Lord is, so affectionate that he appears as Srimad Bhagavatam in our life to give us the right direction, to enable us. So Bharat Maharaj was the eldest of the 100 sons of Rishabdev. And so when he is born as Jad Bharat, he is engaged in devotional service, and then he meets King Rahuguna, and then he reveals his exalted positions. So King Rahuguna, who was going for another discourse, another satsang, immediately falls at the feet of Jad Bharat, and he says, please enlighten me. And Jad Bharat reveals this Bhagavad Dharma to King Rahuguna. And at the end of life, Jad Bharat goes back home, back to Godhead. So those are the three lives. Now, 9 other brothers of Bharat Maharaj, they became rulers of the 9 dvipas in Jambudvip. So again, that has been revealed here as well. So the 9 islands on this planet Earth, so they become the rulers, helping Bharat Maharaj carrying out his administration very nicely. 81 brothers. So again, 9 plus 1 is 10 brothers. Now 90 brothers remaining. 81 brothers became Brahmanas, and they set out the ritualistic process of Karma Kand. So the ritualistic process was set out because generally people are attracted to do rituals to go to higher planets to purify their existence. So they were exalted Brahmanas who set out the Karma Kand principles, the ritualistic processes, to help humankind who were not yet ready to take to devotional service. Now remaining the 9 of them. 9 of them were the Yogendras. So these 9 brothers, they revealed amazing knowledge to King Nimi. So King Nimi, he worships them as he would worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. He gives them exalted seats. He worships them, sprinkles the water on his head and on all the associates and the assembled members. And then he inquires, so who are these Nav-Yogendras? So instead of calling them 9 Yogendras, we'll just call them Nav-Yogendras for simplicity. So the Nav-Yogendras, their name have been given. So in 4 chapters, chapter 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, these 4 chapters we will be talking about Nav-Yogendras and the 9 questions King Nimi asks, and each one of them answers each of the question. And sometimes the question is split into 2 or 3 parts. So we'll be looking at those. Keeping it simpler, we will be looking at, make it easy. So what are the name of these 9 Yogendras, Nav-Yogendras? Kavi, Havir, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Chamasa and Karabhajana. So these are the names of the 9 Yogendras. And so King Nimi asks 9 questions, right? And they answer these questions individually. So that have been also identified. Here in this chapter, we'll discuss the first 2 questions. The first question King Nimi asks is, what is of highest good? What can remove the fearfulness in our life? So this is answered by Kavi. And then the next question he asks is, who is a devotee? How to become, again, what are the religious principles, of course, and what are the different kinds of devotees, the different classes of devotees. Like, most exalted pure devotee is Uttam Adhikari, who is Madhyam Adhikari, intermediate devotee, and who is a neophyte, a beginning in Krishna consciousness, who is a materialistic devotee, and also sometimes referred to as aparakrit devotee. So he appears in the dress of a devotee. He seems to be engaged in some devotional services, but he does them in, with specific perspective. So the difference between the 3 devotees is the level of faith, the level of their attitude, the level of their service, and of all, how soft their heart is. So it all finally dives down into how soft their heart is. So the second question also has this essential aspect. So what are the exalted qualities of a pure Vaishnava, a pure devotee, the most exalted devotee of the Lordship? So when he asks these questions, Kavi, he starts responding with the first, that Bhagavad Dharma is the topmost dharma. It will provide fearlessness in the heart of one who engages in Bhagavad Dharma. And now Bhagavad Dharma, in the purpose, various descriptions have been given why Bhagavad Dharma is the most exalted. And how sometimes people get bewildered, they don't take to devotional service. And even one who takes to devotional service, they have a possibility of getting distracted, going on a tangent, right? We'll be talking about neophyte, how they may get bewildered at times. And they may feel not really take the message as it is presented, but they look it from their perspective. And that's why it is very much a good instruction for the preachers to also understand who they are talking to. And Srila Prabhupada, provided this instruction through a beautiful story. Once there was a Christian missionary. He goes to, a coal mine area, and he is preaching to miners, and he is saying that this world is Dukkhalayama Shashvatam, of course, in English, in his scripture perspective. I'm paraphrasing. So the message is same, the language and the media is sometimes different. So he's preaching at his exalted level, like this material world is a place of misery, it is a place of fearfulness and all. But nobody is able to understand him. He's saying that Jesus is our Lord, Christ is God, and, Holy Spirit is in our heart. Now, interesting thing is, we also accept that the Son is Christ, Jesus. Christ is known as Krishna in Middle East and is known as Krishna in India, in Eastern countries. So, same, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are talking about the same person. We're talking about Super Soul, that's the Holy Spirit. We're talking about the same person, Paramatma. Jesus, the Son, which is the living entity. Living entity is Son of God. doesn't make, but again, Jesus was an exalted son. He is, we accept him as Acharya, Srila Prabhupada says. And in the purport is very nicely described that devotees, they go at great lengths to deliver the conditioned souls. People who are conditioned think that I am this body, and then they are seeking sense gratification and feeling miserable life. They are constantly going through the sufferings in this material world, the three kind of miseries. First is the misery from the other living entities, bhautik. And then the second one is adhyatmic, which is from natural disturbances. And the third one is the most dangerous one. Adhyatmic is actually the third one. Adi Daivik is the one from natural disturbances. Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik, and Adhyatmic. And Adhyatmic is miseries by our own mind, which causes this snowball effect. Rai ka pahad banata hai, jaise kehte hain na? It creates mountain out of a mole. So we have to be very careful from this. So people who are conditioned, they constantly are getting tormented in the various kind of miseries. And when this Christian missionary is telling them, he realizes that nobody is taking his message. Why? Because he's talking on a different plane. And we used to refer to as when we were in school, air in horizontal motion is called wind. So anything that would pass over our head, we couldn't catch it. Our teachers would tell us something in the lesson. We were like, that was wind, which is air in horizontal motion is called wind. It just went by. We didn't catch any of it. So we would make jokes like that as students. So similar thing was happening. None of the minors could understand. So one of the minors got up and he said, what's his number? You're talking about Jesus, you're talking about Christ, so what's his number? And the missionary said, they don't have a number. Now everybody was confused because that's how they related to existence of a personality. Like they have a number. Every minor has a number. So Jesus must have a number. But hearing that he doesn't have a number, they were further disjointed. So it took a while for the Christian missionary to realize that they are not able to understand that there is, when he's talking about that, the material world is a place full of darkness, full of misery, full of humidity, it is constant, painful. They were living in the mind every day. That had become they had become used to that environment. So it wasn't appearing like misery to them. They were conditioned to live. They were thinking it's normal. But then realizing their consciousness when he says, and there is no newspaper, in this material world. Then they are able to relate, oh, there is no newspaper. They could not think of a world without newspaper. Now that was a misery to them. So he was able to connect. So it's very important for the preacher to be able to connect to where he is. So the lessons given by Devishi Narad is at the pure devotee level. Yet at the same time, the purport, it appears that they are more directed towards sannyasis. And we have to also understand that we have to get the message as Srila Prabhupada presented, which is as living entities, right? And not with respect to the body, but everyone should be able to relate. A brahmachari should be able to relate to it. A family man should be able to relate to it. A mother should be able to relate to it. The children should be able to relate to it. And even the ones who are in retired life should be able to relate and take to devotional service. So it is very important when we're talking about detachment, it's basically identified that we are detaching from sense gratification, from the lusty desires. That's where the detachment has been referred to. So when we talk about the banyan tree in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Lord Krishna is describing that this material world is a banyan tree with its roots upward and its branches are going down, the leaves are the Vedic hymns, and the twigs, the end of the twigs is the senses, and then the sense objects are the branches, and living entities going from one branch to another, tasting the fruit of distress and happiness. So those higher planets are higher branches, heavenly planets, lower planets are lower branches. There are pious activities and sinful activities, engaging in those, constantly in this. Nobody knows where it started, where it ended. That's the description given of this banyan tree in this material world. And the root, which is the Sat Lok, right, who is at the root? Lord Brahma is sitting at the root of this. And where do you see such a tree? With its roots upward and things going, all the branches going downward. That is a reflection on the bank of a river. When you look at the reflection of a tree, then you see that reflection with its root upward and its branches going down. So that is what has been explained by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So in this description, it is said that how do you, get out of this tree? By the weapon of detachment. Now, the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita refers to Gyan Yoga, but that weapon of detachment, that detachment has been explained in the 2nd chapter itself, the contents of Gita summarized, and also in chapter 9, where it is by developing attachment to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, one develops detachment. So the thing happens simultaneously. It's very nicely described that how simultaneously one can detach oneself from the lusty desire, from the desire of sense gratification, by developing attachment. So in this manner, just by developing attachment, we can grow to the next level. Hare Krishna. Yes. So there are 3 things that happen simultaneously, and that has been described here. That when we engage in devotional service, we should engage with loving attitude in the manner and not be distracted by the other yoga systems. And when we talk about other yoga systems, Lord Krishna gives this instruction, Sarvadhamam Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So he's saying that give up all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. So all these varieties, what do they mean? So it's very interesting that these varieties are referring to, acting as a materialist in a karmi form, seeking sense gratification. When one is engaged, as a materialist, not as a devotee, then they go through pravarga. Pravarga is for the devotees. Pravarga is pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. So those 5 consonants in Hindi, alphabet that we hear. Pa is for parishram. So one who is trying to survive and seek sense gratification for himself and his family engages in heavy parishram. Parishram is over endeavor. Does a lot of over endeavor for survival. And sometimes it's speculative and, with over endeavor, what happens? Just like if you make a horse work very hard, what happens? The foam starts forming in the mouth. So similarly, for a living entity in conditioned life is thinking that I am this body. That's what conditioned life is. And that I have to maintain my body and I have to engage in serving my body. And I am so and so. So one gets bewildered by this I and mind concept. I leads to that various kind of upadhis, various kind of designation. One wants various kind of designations to be recognized in the society. So I am, an American, I am an Indian, I am a, head of the household, I am a man, I am a woman, even that is there. I am a human and everyone, these are animals, that is also an upadhi. And I am a, master's in computer science, or I am a doctor, even those are designations. I am a president, I am a CEO of a company, those are all designations. So one is looking at this I, that causes envy to develop in one's heart. Because now he's comparing with others. And if he sees someone at a higher position, he wants to acquire that position. That's exactly the mentality we saw Hiranyakashipu having. And then mine is referring to lust, that wants to hoard more and more. That I have defeated all my enemies, that's the demonic thinking. And I have acquired so much wealth, and I'll acquire more. Everywhere where I'll go, people will, worship me, people will treat me with awe and reverence, I will be honored everywhere. So this is also, caused because of that lust, envy and lust. So these are the 2 ways I and mine are driving people away. And that's what we mean when we talk about conditioned souls. So when one is in conditioned state of life, they are bewildered, right? And that's why Shastras call such people as karmis, or sometimes even as asuras, because they are not following the injunctions of Shastras. They're taking shortcuts at times. They're using speculation at times to get to that position. And everything that they do is for their own benefit. Now, many of these people, they actually engage in charity and sacrifice. They engage in devotional service as well. But they set that time only, and then remaining time is for me. So that has been discussed in this chapter. That they say, okay, I'll give 1 hour in a week, I'll engage, and I'll go to the temple, I'll go to the church, make an offering to the Lordship, and then I will continue to enjoy as it is. Now, even that is glorious versus one who never goes to the temple. Because it is said that unfortunate, a miser is a person. Who is a miser? A miser is a person who has spent his whole life seeking sense gratification, but never came to know that God is great. Never came to the temple or a church or a, or any place of worship where they could have seen synagogue or any other place, or mosque, to pay obeisances, to express gratitude for all that we have received in this life, thinking that I am the one who is the cause, would be the person who never knew who God is, how merciful He is, and how wonderful it is that He has given us this opportunity to be able to have this human form of life. So they are even much more exalted than one who has never gone. So those who have never gone are misers. They are referred to as misers. Kripana, that's the word. And while ones who go to the temple, even once a while, automatically devotional service is getting, the spark is getting fanned, and soon they will come to the next level where they would want to serve God. They are currently going to the temple asking for, oh Lord, give me this, give me that, give me a house by the sea, give me a wonderful wife, 4 cars, and a great promotion at work. They are making this kind of requests right now, but in due course of time they will realize that instead of Lord be our order supply, because He's already providing us so many things, we should be serving Him. We should be, He's reciprocating with His love, but what are we doing? Then they will wake up one day and they will start serving Lord. What can I do? And sometimes they go to the kitchen, they cut vegetables. When they cook food, even at home with COVID-19, they, first offer it to the Lordship. Even to offering to the picture of Lord Krishna, Radha Krishna is exalted activity. So offer it to the Lordship so that it becomes blessed. It's called prasad. It becomes Mahaprasad. Prasad means mercy. So we get to enjoy the mercy of Lordship in that mood. So here, Bhagavad Dharma is being explained by Sage Kavi. So he is one of the Yogendras, 9 Yogendras, and he is explaining this, that Bhagavad Dharma is pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet at the same time, we have the attitude of crawl, walk, run, right? So simply by engaging little, attraction builds up. And those are the 9 stages that have been identified in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that by some kind of sukriti, one gets into sadhu sangha. Sadhu sangha, one takes a bona fide spiritual master, the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, enables one to engage in devotional service. When one's engaged in devotional service, bhajana kriya, right? It's not just worship, it's devotional service has 9 process of devotional service. Then anartha nivritti happens, which is like all kind of impurities are washed away. And one starts to develop nishtha, sakti, ruchi, right? And further comes to the level of bhav. One has a strong attachment, strong affection and love develops. And when that love has come to the really concentrated level, that everything that we have is surrendered. Every activity that we do is to please Lord Krishna. Then it comes to the level of prema. And that point of prema is where, we have achieved, we have been blessed with the love of Godhead, and we can easily, be on that platform, continue to engage in devotional service. Yet at the same time, when we are engaged in devotional service, there is something we should always watch for. What? What is that we should always watch for? Vaishnava Aparadh. That's called mad elephant disease. That can destroy our, tree of devotion, a creeper of devotion. Just like a mad elephant, if he enters into a nice garden, what will happen? The nice garden will be completely destroyed. So similarly, by causing any kind of Vaishnava Aparadh, one can destroy their progress. One can set themselves back in the journey, and then they will have to start the journey again. Why set ourselves back? Why get deviated by others? So that is also. So that, we are talking about how even people who are we calling conditioned, and we all, it's very interesting that Srila Prabhupada, when he had given the Srimadbhagavatam class, he asked any question, and one of the disciples, he said that Srila Prabhupada sometimes when we go out, we are in, not in Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada, he said, actually, only when you come to the course, discourse and you do devotional service, then you are in Krishna consciousness. Most of the time we are in, material consciousness. So he's revealing that to us. That, and of course I paraphrase, so he is referring to us that we are in material consciousness when we are not in devotions, we're not performing devotional service, when we are not Krishna conscious. So anytime we forget Krishna, of course, we are under the influence of Maya. And Maya is material nature. So we are in material consciousness. So, but at the same time, we want to rise to that state of love, like Ananya Bhakti, where we are fully in Krishna consciousness all the time. Like Srila Prabhupada, he was always Krishna conscious. He said that even when he was a child, he never forgot Krishna. He cannot think of a time that he forgot Krishna. He was always working to please Krishna. Yes, a devotee's activities may very much appear like that of a materialistic person, a conditioned person. Yet at the same time, the bhav is completely different. One is doing it to please Lord Krishna, another one could be doing it to please the senses, to gratify the senses. So this is lusty desire, this is love. So lust and love, those are the two, ends where people fluctuate at times. So here, apart from that, somebody can get frustrated and say, okay, I'm really frustrated. So what's the other type of dharma that could be taken with respect to the body? Is that I'm frustrated in this material world is mithya. It is, I'm not going to do any of those things. So they take to Ashtanga Yoga. I'm going to control my senses. So yes, we are hungry, we are all thirsty. So this material world is said to be a desert, and we are running after mirage, right? Getting more and more accomplished. But those are just mirages. They are not giving us happiness. They are not satisfying the thirst that we have. They are not quenching our thirst. And if we have hunger for love, our hunger is not getting satisfied. So here, what will satisfy? It is the rain of love of Godhead, the chanting of the holy name. That is the rain. That is the shower that we are waiting for. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. However, an Ashtanga Yogi, what does they do? Now, sometimes people take to Ashtanga Yoga system because it will keep our body healthy. That's one aspect. But what it enables you is to have a healthy body so you can engage in the right purpose, in devotional service. So it's on its own, it's condemned because you're just trying to be healthy. But why? So you can enjoy more? That is the wrong mindset. You have a healthy body, you are doing, pranayama, you are doing, anulom vilom, kapalbhati and bhastrika and so forth, so that you have a healthy body to serve Lord Krishna. Now that is commendable. So that should be the mood. But sometimes the Ashtanga yogis, they are just thinking, okay, I'm going to meditate. And we talked about this, that in Satyuga, people had to meditate for tens of thousands of years to be able to see the super soul in their heart, Paramatma in their heart. We don't have such a lifespan. Our lifespan is more like 100 years if we live ideally. So that is a futile attempt to be able to see and meditate on the super soul in our heart. Of course, sometimes people refer to as Dhruv Maharaj, in 6 months he was able to see. That was 6 months of celestial years. A day of celestial years, just a day is 6 months of earthly year. So again, it just does convert back to similar figures of tens of thousands of earthly years. So you have to be in, see things in right perspective. So here, he's saying that even give up that attitude to that, okay, everything is Jagan Mithya. So again, then comes the level of Jnanis. They are saying speculative knowledge. They are speculating, they're doing Vedanta study. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was immersing the whole of Banaras in the holy name, in the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. At that time, Prakashanand, he considered that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is just a sentimentalist. So he invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to have conversation with other Mayavadi scholars. And at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's touch purified him. And he took to pure devotional service. He understood that the true essence is to serve, to please Lord Krishna, not to seek to merge into Brahman, because Mayavadis have this concept that they would merge into Brahman. Everything is, Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. This material world is false and Brahma is Satya, means that is the only truth. There is only one thing, so we merge into Brahman and we become Brahman, so we become God. And that's a great offense at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Because from him he expands as the super soul. Shirodakshai Vishnu expands as super soul, who is the plenary portions of the portion of Lord Krishna. And also the Brahman effulgence is coming from the jewels. His toes, the nails of his toes are like jewels. From those jewels, this Brahman effulgence is coming. So that has been described. So that's why bhakti is the process. We take to bhakti and we attain perfection in our life. We serve Lord Krishna. All our activities are dovetail. Now how does that happen? Now sometimes people say, okay, you have to detach yourself, then you have to attach yourself. In this verse, Sage Kavi, one of the 9 Yogendras, he is explaining very nicely that just like devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and detachment from other things, which is the materialistic view, they occur, all these 3 aspects occur simultaneously, and he gives a very beautiful analogy. The analogy he gives is just like when one takes, one is very hungry, just like we were talking about, we had this hunger for love, So when one is very hungry, but one gets food, a hungry person gets food, and he takes a morsel after morsel, he eats prasadam. So simultaneously, what is happening is, he is getting the pleasure of this beautiful, wonderful prasadam, relishable food, that remnants of, that has been offered, again the remnants of Lord Krishna, that he's taking the bhoga that was offered to Lord Krishna. So his body is getting nourished, right? He's feeling that energy, because what happens with hunger? Our body feels weak, we start feeling dizzy, we don't feel like doing, work and all that. So now the body is getting nourished. All the body parts are getting nourishment, all that food, getting absorbed by in the blood, and then all that nourishment is going to all our limbs, our hands and legs are becoming powerful. And then we are getting relief from that hunger. So that is also going away. So our senses, when we engage in devotional service, we are experiencing the same thing. With devotion, we are feeling the pleasure, the transcendental bliss that comes with devotion. And then we are getting nourishment, because our soul, it's the bird in the cage is more important than the cage. The body is like the cage. The soul is the bird in the cage. So the soul is getting nourishment. That is the food for the soul. Devotion. Devotional service, when we perform, we are feeding the soul. And the soul is getting nourished, is feeling strong, is feeling, advancing. That is advancing on its spiritual journey. So that is what is the nourishment refers to. And then relief from this material sufferings, because it's getting this detachment coming on its own, because it's getting attached to, higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate. So the higher taste, because tongue is so strong, even the param drishtva refers to sight, that one has a higher vision. Srila Prabhupada translated to taste, because tongue is the strongest of our 5 knowledge acquiring senses. And it's also one of the karmendriya, working sense. So when our tongue is completely purified, and Rupa Goswami also reveals that our senses are so gross that they cannot understand, they cannot perceive Lord Krishna. But when we engage our tongue in tasting the remnants of the prasad, right, the remnants that have been offered, the remnants of Lord Krishna's offering, so that purifies our tongue. And also when we chant the holy name, it purifies our tongue. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Sage Kavi is explaining this wonderful Bhagavad Dharma to King Nimi, and Devashi Narada is revealing it to Vasudev, this pastime that he's narrating, and then of course Sutta Goswami and Shukdev Goswami, they are revealing to their respective audiences. So here, audience, now it is very nicely described that King Nimi asked the next question: what are the 3 levels of devotees? And what kind of religious activities they engage in, what kind of rituals they engage in. And also, apart from the rituals, what are the qualities of an exalted personality? He wants to know about that as well. So that has been discussed in this chapter as well. So here, Sage Havir, he starts describing that what are the three categories. Then he starts from the topmost, then to the lower and lower. So he says the topmost, the pure devotee of Lord Krishna, he sees everything equally. He sees Krishna in everything. So again, everything is in Krishna, but not Krishna is everything. This is also very important. So he says that he sees that everything is an expansion of Lord Krishna. Not that Krishna is in everything, but everything is an expansion of Lord Krishna as his potency, and that Lord is present everywhere. Yet at the same time, everything does not become Krishna as Mayavadis, they say. So that defeats that Mayavad philosophy that everything is Brahman, so I am Brahman, so everything is me, so I am God. That's not the right mindset. So everything is in Krishna. So Lord Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhu matta sarvam pravartate. So everything is in me, but I am not in them. He reveals it very nicely. So here they are seeing everyone with equal vision. So that's also in 8.5 is revealed in Bhagavad Gita. Who is a Pandita? Who is Samadarshina? Who looks at everyone with equal vision. And Srila Prabhupada, by his example, he showed that he, irrespective of whether you are white or black, yellow or brown, whether you are American, European or Indian, he imparted Krishna consciousness to everyone. Yet at the same time, Devashi Narad also reveals earlier that you cannot just force a devotee to give you Krishna consciousness. That's also an arrogant attitude sometimes a conditioned soul may have. So people will just say, oh, you have to do this. That a devotee is serving Krishna. He's not serving people in general populace. Yes, for people who are ready to take to Krishna consciousness, not challenging the authority of Krishna, he is very happy to share Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada, he gave many of these examples. Once he was giving a discourse at a university and a student got up and he said, why do you have this tilak on your forehead? So Srila Prabhupada looked at him. He was asking in a very challenging manner. So Srila Prabhupada asked him, why do you wear that tie? Why are you wearing this tie? And he looked at his tie, could not answer, he just simply sat down. And afterwards when he met Srila Prabhupada said, when you ask a question, you should ask in a submissive manner with the mood of understanding it. You should not ask in a challenging mode. So Devashi Narad reveals this to Vasudeva, that sometimes a devotee is, spreading Krishna consciousness. So again, when someone is preaching, they're also preaching based on the recipient. Who's the recipient? If he is envious of Krishna, then it would be an offense to preach to such a person, because he would start quarrel. And we are not here for any quarrel. A devotee simply says, let me just walk away and find someone who is ready to take to Krishna consciousness. So it saves time, it saves energy. So an intelligent preacher always understands these aspects, that he is not going to distribute freely. The distribute freely is true, but not to a person who is envious, who can start quarrel and distract the general populace. They will start, discussions like this. So once His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj in his book writes that Srila Prabhupada, a Bengali person was asking questions in Bengali and Srila Prabhupada was speaking in Hindi. So this person got upset. He said, why are you responding in Hindi? Srila Prabhupada said, I'm speaking, you can understand the message, right? Why are you attached to that language? That's the paraphrase. Once again, that's the message he's passing out. What is important is the message and not which language it has been spoken in. That's why Srila Prabhupada, he translated in English, because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, please spread this knowledge to the Western countries. And people in Western countries are speaking in English. Srila Prabhupada, he of course, his first class to the Westerners was on Sanskrit. And what was that? That was, he is such a magnanimous personality. He's such a exalted Vaishnava that he starts with, His Holiness Mukund Maharaj and many of his friends, they wanted to learn Sanskrit. They got attracted to learning Sanskrit. They were musicians. And so Srila Prabhupada said, yes, come to the class, I'll teach you. So that was Srila Prabhupada's first class to Westerners. And he, what does he write? Ishvara Paramaha Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The topmost, the most confidential knowledge right there as part of the Sanskrit language. So he's revealing them that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has the body of, eternity, full of knowledge and full of bliss. That's Satchidananda Vigraha. And there is no one older than him, Anadira. And he is the oldest of all, Adi. Govinda, he is the one who gives pleasure to the sense of pleasure to the cause. Sarva Karana Karam, he is the cause of all causes. Such an amazing example he gives. So he was directly able to connect with everyone he was meeting. So yes, and sometimes when people are, envious of Krishna, when they are going to start quarrel, then devotees, as preachers, we simply back out and, try to find someone who we can spend time and energy to help others. There are many people there, right? We have such a huge amount of population. It's better to preach to ones who is able to take it to it and not start a quarrel or start an argument. And so here, that has been revealed as well. Yet at the same time, it is said by Havir, when he is saying the most exalted Vaishnava is one who is with equal vision spreading it. So again, even there is a level of discrimination to, not spend your energy at a place. So a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada reveals by his own example, they are willing to give it to one who is ready to take. And they are also willing to provide that instruction so that one who is envious can drive away their envy. And it is said just by the chanting of the holy name, all that enviousness that goes away, all the envy goes away. Because envy is because of the different designations we have. Lust is because of the various belongings. This belongs to mine, that belongs to him. So that mindset. These are the lust and envy. These are the two biggest enemies that we are fighting. Lust, anger and greed are the three gates of hell, yes. But it starts with lust. That's with I. And people think I am this body. And that's where, it's like now you have to have mind. So that lust starts with envy and lust. They go hand in hand, I and mine. Aham mameti. So here, after explaining that the pure devotee of Lord, the first class devotee, is looking with equal vision and is spreading Krishna consciousness, constantly engaged in Ananya Bhakti and unalloyed devotional service. Now what about Madhyam Adhikari? Madhyam Adhikari has some faith. This is not as strong faith. The Uttama Adhikari has Nishtha, very strong faith. This one has Shraddha, some faith. And he is growing with bhajan kriya. He is removing his anarthas. He is removing the impurities of the heart. And Madhyam Adhikari goes and he maintains relationships. So he discriminates depending on different level of devotees also, different level of living entities. He avoids the envious kind, just like, the preacher, when we go out, book distribution, all, we don't want to give book to someone who's going to just throw it in trash can or start saying bad things to, about Bhagavad Gita or Lord Krishna. So we avoid that. So, Srila Prabhupada would come down to Madhyam Adhikari level when he was preaching, because preaching is done at a Madhyam Adhikari level. So Srila Prabhupada, who is Uttam Adhikari, the most exalted pure devotee, would come out from a Paramahansa level to Madhyam Adhikari level, just to preach. So see how magnanimous, such a wonderful father he has been to us. And for the grand disciples, his grandfather, who is even more merciful than the father, the spiritual master. So Madhyam Adhikari is very affectionate towards and compassionate towards the new devotees, right? New in Krishna consciousness, neophytes, or also referred to as materialistic devotee in this particular chapter as aparakat. So they are dressed as devotees, but they are not fully in Krishna consciousness, or they don't have enough faith. Their faith is flickering of neophyte. But in Madhyam Adhikari, you have good faith, but not strong faith to have strong arguments. And Srila Prabhupada, one of his disciples, he said, I want to go and have this argument with Mayavadis. And Srila Prabhupada, understanding that this devotee, this disciple of his was not so advanced, he said, no, you will go there and they will convert you into a Mayavadi. Don't try, just hear this, story from Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was able to convert all these Mayavadis into Vaishnavas, and even pure Vaishnavas. And so again, sometimes people, they want to just jump to that pure devotee level, while, from that neophyte, they've skipped that middle level completely, the thinking. So Srila Prabhupada, he reveals that our spiritual master enables you to, go from one level to the next, and following his instructions is the best way, Vani Seva. So Vani Seva, following the instructions, serving the instruction of spiritual master, is even more exalted than Vapu Seva, serving the physical form of a spiritual master. So that has been identified. So we are looking at the qualities of a Madhyam Adhikari, an intermediate devotee, where he is showing compassion towards the new ones. He is very friendly to the other devotees who are at his level, and he is always serving the exalted Vaishnavas, exalted devotees, sadhus. He is always rendering service, ready to serve them. So that is a Madhyam Adhikari. After describing what the Madhyam Adhikari is, what are his characteristics and what kind of activities he engages in, Sage Havir, he starts describing the neophyte, a beginning Adhikari, a Kanishta Adhikari, or also called a Parakrit Adhikari. So he is describing that one who goes to the temple only to worship the deities, does not interact with the Vaishnavas, does not have devotee association, then he is at that level. Why? Because it is through devotee association. So again, it has been identified, the 6 principles that enable us to go stronger in our journey, in our spiritual journey has been identified. And devotee association is paramount, first and foremost. But one who is at a neophyte level, he's saying, I don't want to deal with all these people in between. I have taken a guru and I have these deities. So I'm just interacting with deities. So they are at that particular level. So just having an interaction between themselves and the deities. And that's why to their vision, Krishna appears very far. They may see the deities at a short distance, but the vision is far off. So Lord Krishna is far. What's said is, when we take to, when we go through disciplic succession, all the acharyas, they are like magnifying lenses. His Grace Gauranga Prabhu gives this nice example. So in a telescope, the more lenses you have, the closer it appears. So when we hear the commentaries of the Vaishnava acharyas, so in this particular chapter, Srila Jiva Goswami's commentaries are there, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries are there, Srila Sridhar Swami's commentaries are there, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Mahārāja Prabhupada's commentary are there, Srila Prabhupada's commentaries are there, and also his disciples' commentaries are there. So we got amazing 6 extra lenses. So imagine Lord Krishna appears so close. He becomes so easily approachable just because of this benefit that we are able to understand them through the eyes of the Shastra Chakshu, right? From the vision of the Shastra. So it becomes so easy for us to understand the 3 classes of devotees. And now comes the point of what are the qualities, the exalted qualities of the pure devotee, the topmost Vaishnava. And he is also referred to as Bhagavat Pradhan. The various names have been given for this pure devotees in this chapter. Bhagavatottama, who is the topmost of all the Bhagavats. So again, when we talk about Srimadbhagavatam, so there is Bhagavatam as scripture and also Bhagavat as a devotee. So Bhagavatottama has been described as well. So the last 8 verses, just like in Bhagavad Gita, the last 8 verses of 12th chapter, devotional service, refer to the qualities or characteristics of a devotee. Now here the last 8 verses refer to the qualities of a pure devotee. And we'll make it simple, that first quality is that a pure devotee does not look at relativity. He is situated on the spiritual platform, and spiritual platform is about the absolute truth, Lord Krishna. So he is not affected by the distresses of this material world. He is not looking at happiness as distress. He is not getting attached, thinking that this is favorable, that is unfavorable. He knows as Paramahamsa, so that is the level of this pure devotee, that everything needs to be used in Lord Krishna's service. Everything needs to be used in to give pleasure for Krishna. So irrespective of various conditions of this material world. So the first quality that has been explained by Sage Havir is that he's at the absolute platform. He is not repelled or he is not elated in either condition. So the dualities of this world, heat and cold, happiness and distress, pleasure and pain, all these aspects, summer and winter, healthy and even unhealthy situations. So even looking at those, he's not looking at that. He's looking at like Lord's energies are pervading everywhere. So he's not affected. So that's why he is considered the greatest among all devotees, because he is engaged in devotional service nevertheless. Irrespective of external conditions, he is internally resolute. He is internally determined in serving Lord Krishna. So a pure devotee has a strong resolute in serving. So it doesn't matter what the condition is, what time it is, he is constantly serving Lord Krishna, he is constantly meditating. And we talked about from Gopi's pastimes, that's Manan Leela, he is constantly thinking of Lord Krishna, he is constantly praying to Lord Krishna. That is his attitude. Now the second set of qualities is related to is that he is never anxious. And anxiousness one becomes anxious when one is harassed, right? So, because of the life here that we have to maintain, sometimes we feel harassed by hunger and thirst. So that is, and sometimes we are even harassed by other living entities who try to put us down. He's never harassed. He's never in anxiety. And our mind is always anxious. It's always accepting and rejecting. So that is as a living entity, our swarup is, our constitutional position is eternal servant of Lord Krishna. So we are eternal servant of Lord Krishna, but sometimes when we forget Lord Krishna, we end up becoming servant of Maya. So we have to serve. That is our nature. That is in our nature. So what's the nature of mind? That is always accepts and rejects. Even in the mode of goodness, the mind is like a smriti, right? So it gets bewildered at times. And so it's constantly anxious. And the intelligence is always hankering for things. I want this, I don't want that. So it's always trying to make plans of getting things. So that hankering comes because of intelligence. And the senses, because they have to engage in various kind of activities, they are exhausted because of the over-endeavor one is trying to do when seeking sense gratification. So a pure devotee is never anxious, he's never harassed, he's never hankering for things. So that's why it said, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Na Shochati Na Kankshati. So a person who is at Brahman stage, such a person, a pure devotee, never laments for the past, laments that, oh, what if this would have happened, I would have been so happy. And he never aspires for the future, that, oh, I hope that this would happen, that will make me happy. He never looks from that perspective of happiness and distress, which was the previous quality. So you'll see that these qualities are interlinked. They are not in isolation. So he's never anxious, he's never bewildered. And at times, even if a bewilderment does come and a devotee doesn't know, a pure devotee doesn't know what to do, he just takes shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So that's what we should do. We should, anytime we have any fearfulness, anytime there is any anxiety, we should just raise our hand and chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And now what is the third quality? That he is never lusty, he is never seeking sense gratification. All his activities are dovetailed to serve Lord Krishna. So a pure devotee is constantly serving Lord Krishna. A pure devotee is free from all fruitive activities. He is never, looking at what will be the end result. The only result he is looking at, the only goal he has is to please Lord Krishna. So when a pure devotee goes out for book distribution, he's not looking at, hey, today I made so much Lakshmi and tomorrow I'll make so much more. He's never looking from that perspective. He is saying, oh Lord Krishna, I am an instrument in your service. Please enable your potency flow through me. Please enable, me to help others who are in conditioned life to take to your message. And with this mood when we go, actually we have had practical experience. Once we were in a mall and we were thinking, today we'll have great results. Yesterday we did so much on Saturday, Sunday would be even greater because we have bigger crowd. And it was so amazing that for 2 hours going around, we were not able to give out one book. And then we realized that we had the wrong attitude. And we immediately prayed to Nityananda Prabhu, Adi Guru, that, oh Nityananda Prabhu, please let your mercy flow through me so that I become an instrument in your service in distributing books. And suddenly, we saw in the next hour, all our bags were coming out to be empty because the mercy of the Lord was flowing through. It was not at all. That was the day we learned the lesson, that we are just an instrument. We hear in Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, Nimitta matram bhavi savisachin. Oh, Arjun, you are just an instrument. But then we experience, that makes us really humble. That puts us in our right perspective. That actually everything is being done by Lord. We are only an instrument, right? We are only a media through which. So mercy of the Lord flow through his devotees, yes. But when the devotee is humble, so a pure devotee is always at that platform, in a very humble platform, on a very, compassionate way he is passing on the message. And always thinking that everything that he is doing is because of the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So that is where Srila Prabhupada, anytime he was glorified, he would glorify his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, Srila Prabhupada. He had the same title as his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. So a pure devotee is never anxious, and he's never bewildered, and he's never lusty. Rather, everything that he would do would be to serve Lord Krishna, to please Lord Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada showed by his own example. He was shown this picture of a yogi who was presented a platter full of wealth, money and all. But this yogi in this picture was putting his hands in the back as if like, I have nothing to do with this Maya. He was calling this, but wealth is Maya. Srila Prabhupada said, bring that wealth to me and I'll go like this, putting my hands around. Why? Because I will use everything in service of Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada shared a very wonderful example. So if you're walking on the street and if you see a rupee on the, a currency note on the road, then there are three responses you could have. First is that you could reject it. You could say, okay, I have not seen it. I don't know. It doesn't belong to me. I don't care. You can walk away. So that's the mood of a, yogi, a jnani, that, I have got nothing to do with this material world. Second kind is a materialistic view, where the person says, oh, finders keepers. They can pick up that currency note and put it in their pocket. Oh, it's a dollar note, it's a rupee note. I'm finders keepers, I found it, so I keep it. And then the third one is the mood of a devotee who would pick up that note and find the owner and give it to the owner. And of course, Sarvalok Maheshwaram, and the supreme owner is Lord Krishna. So a devotee would take whatever come on its way, on its accord, and engage it in the service of Lord Krishna. So that's the mood Srila Prabhupada had as a pure devotee. He's showing us never to be lusty, but engage everything in Lord Krishna's service and always be free from even a desire to enjoy. Rather, prasadam seva is called, accepting the remnants of the food that has been, previously offered. So that is called prasad, mercy of Lord Krishna, and that mercy would provide us nourishment, would provide us the transcendental bliss, and at the same time purify us so that we don't have any lusty desires. Then the fourth one is, we covered relativity, we covered not to be anxious, we covered not to be lusty, but also always. So we are covering the characteristics of a pure devotee, a pure Vaishnava, an exalted personality. Who is always engaged in serving Lord Krishna with devotion. He's constantly serving Lord Krishna with love. And now we are going to discuss fourth one, which is he's never proud. So even though one may be born in an aristocratic family, sometimes one may become very proud. One whose parents are very famous, then they can become very proud. Sometimes we do see that even young boys and girls who just happen to be very proud and very arrogant just because their parents happen to have, some very important positions in devotee circle. And, people also, because of the sentimentalism, start regarding these kids as extra special, not realizing that they're discriminating unknowingly with other kids who are actually very nice devotees. So such kind of discriminatory behavior comes because of their, mindset. Their vision is still, have this, they have a different kind of vision. They are still bewildered in this world. So one who doesn't become proud because of the position, because of the various designation the body gets, because of being very beautiful, because of being very rich, or because of higher birth. So a pure devotee never has pride. He is always in that humble state. And that is being also instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we should be more humble than the grass on the street. We should be more tolerant than the tree, and never expecting any respect from others, and always be willing to give all kind of respects to others. We can constantly engage in devotional service eternally. Tranadapi shunichena tarorapi saishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So we can glorify the Lord sadahari for eternity. We can continue to do that in that mood. So a pure devotee exemplifies. He is a, model. He is the role. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he never showed a tinge of pride. He would always, continue to serve, carrying out. And he said that my Guru Maharaj is so merciful, that Vaishnavas are so merciful, as how at Damodar temple in Vrindavan, he was looking at Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi and he was praying. So he was saying Rupa Goswami is so merciful. A devotee always, a pure devotee always glorifies others instead of seeking one's own glorification. And he accepts the worship and glorification on behalf of those exalted Vaishnavas, understanding that this body has now become an instrument in their service, and accepting everything on their behalf, just as an instrument, right? So that is a mood, that is an exalted position of a pure devotee. Then comes fifth one. He is never envious. Envious is because of the various upadhis we talked about. So he is not thinking that this is my property. And envy and lust, we talked about that. Lust we already talked about as the third, quality. He is never lusty. Now the fifth one is he is never envious. And he is always, working with us selfless. So selfless doesn't mean that you have become nothing. Selfless means you don't have any selfish conception. You don't have any selfish desire to satisfy your senses, desire to please for your own material body, and becoming indifferent to others. So that is hard-heartedness. So becoming even indifferent to others' feelings is hard-heartedness. And devotee is never that way. Even Mahatma Gandhi, he sang Vaishnava Jan Ko. So again, when he was singing this, Peer Padai Jane Re, he is glorifying the Vaishnava Jan, the pure devotees, that who considers others' pain as their own pain, and who are willing to share their happiness. This is actually a reciprocation of Lord Krishna's mercy. So as an instrument of Lord Krishna, they are ready to share. Just Lord Krishna says that whatever facility I have, I'm ready to share it with the devotees. So Srila Prabhupada, whatever, whoever came in his shelter, he shared everything that he had with them. And sometimes when book distributors, they would come back and Srila Prabhupada would say that understand that I wrote these books for you. So don't just distribute it, but also pick it up, open it and read it. That was his instruction. So we should make an effort to please Srila Prabhupada by opening Srimadbhagavatam, opening Bhagavad Gita as it is, opening Chaitanya Charitamrita. He has written so many wonderful books that we should study, we should read, because it is meant for us, for our purification. Charity begins at home. So instead of, doing charity to the world, we should first, purify our own existence, which will actually help us, because Lord Krishna will become pleased when our spiritual master is pleased with us. And so, being pleased, he will allow us to be a better instrument, a more well-aligned instrument in his service. So a pure devotee is never envious of others. Rather, he is very compassionate soul to others. So a satisfied Vaishnava in this mood, that his satisfaction is constantly dependent on satisfaction of Lord Krishna, satisfaction of the spiritual masters in the disciplic succession. He is at the highest standard of devotional service. It's being revealed. Now the sixth quality is he's detached from everything, right? But he never forgets the lotus feet of Lord Krishna in any circumstances. So detachment comes with attachment. We talked about this earlier today. That when we are attached to the lotus feet in serving Lord Krishna, to seeking his pleasure, we are serving, dovetailing all our activities in serving Lord Krishna, automatically we are detached from material aspects because we are on a spiritual platform. So that detachment is there. And even in exchange for the benediction of ruling and enjoying the opulence of the entire universe, he is completely detached because he is saying, whatever I have to engage in serving Krishna. And by serving Krishna, one of the ways is to preach, right? To go out and spread this knowledge and share this knowledge. Wonderful transcendental knowledge with others. Raj Vidya Rajyam. It is the king of knowledge. So Bhagavad Dharma, to share Krishna consciousness, is an important aspect. And sometimes it is amazing that when a devotee is talking to a person who is conditioned thinking I am this body, they fail to realize, they have this strong conception that devotees are just bewildered folks and they are not really focused. So that is being exemplified with this nice story where there is this misconception. The man was passing. As he was passing, he saw that there are elephants being kept by this elephant keeper, but they are tied with a very thin rope that they can just with a simple jerk they can break it. And he says, that will not hold the elephant back. So the gentleman said, actually it will. These elephants, when they were young, this rope was strong enough so that when they pulled on it, they couldn't break it. But as they grew up, they only had that impression that it's not able, they were not able to break it, so they will not be able to break it. So that is a misconception people have sometimes in this condition. That's the snare of Maya, basically. While when you take to devotional service, just like these adults, elephants could easily break away that thin rope, we can easily, take to devotional service and become detached from this material energy. So it is very important for us to understand that this detachment is very easy when we attach ourselves, engage our senses in serving Lord Krishna. Then our senses will be pacified and our heart will be satisfied. So that is the mood we should have to serve Lord Krishna, because then with that attachment we will have a higher consciousness. The seventh one is, a devotee is never in the fire of material suffering. So he is never feeling that his heart is being burned by this material suffering, because we are engaged in worshipping Supreme Lord. How could that be possible? And the Lord's lotus feet, they have performed these amazing heroic deeds. Lord is performing, and his beautiful nails from which Brahman Jyoti is coming out. So it is like this cooling moonshine, and this moonshine immediately relieves the suffering in our heart. So the pure devotee's heart is always feeling this cooling effect of moonshine from the effulgence that's coming out from the nails of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like with the coming of moonlight, cooling night, they relieve us from the burning heat of the sun. So at night, in the summer nights, we have this experience. Last but not the least, the eighth quality of pure devotee, a pure Vaishnava, is he chants with love. He engages, all his services are with love. So he is not just serving on the duty level, he is serving with love Lord Krishna. He is understanding that how grateful Lord Krishna is, how grateful we feel towards Lord Krishna. So pure devotee is always showing his gratitude with his love and devotion, constantly engaging in Lord Krishna. And it is said, Sage Javier says that even such a devotee, even if he chants the holy name unknowingly or inattentively, how could not Lord be merciful? Lord, even in that state, for a pure devotee, he is destroying many reactions of his past activities, relieving him from this material world, bringing him up So when we remember, when I read this particular purport and this verse, it reminded me of this time when a devotee is raising in hand from this material world, and Lord and Garun is coming and picking him up. So the devotee could even just be raising his hand thinking, help. But when he's chanting and not really calling out for Lord, but Lord himself would come and he picks the devotee from this bhavasaga, this ocean of nascence in this material world. So that picture comes to mind, like how for a pure devotee, even when he is not calling, Lord is eager to serve. And 6 Goswamis, the Shad Goswamis in Vrindavan, they showed us how Sanatan Goswami, once he was feeling this scorching heat, and when he was feeling this scorching heat, Radharani herself come and put her veil on him, giving him shade. When he was feeling hungry, Gopal himself came and served. When Madhavendra Puri, after doing the parikrama of Govardhan Hill, seeing that he is fasting, Lord Krishna came as a Gopal, as a young cowherd boy. He said that, I'm Gopal and I take care of all the residents in this place, and I see that you have not eaten anything. So he brings, milk for Madhavendra Puri. So Lord himself is eager to serve his devotees. Yet at the same time, a devotee never wants. Rupa Goswami actually chastises Sanatana Goswami. Oh, you took service from Radharani? And at that time he realizes, Sanatana Goswami, that God is not our supplier. We are meant to serve Lord Krishna. So we have this body and all our abilities. They are meant to serve Lord Krishna, and that is the mood of a pure devotee. So this is where this chapter ends, with such exalted 8 areas of devotional service. And these are the 2 pictures in Srimadbhagavatam that relate to today's chapter. And of course, next 3 chapters also relate to the other 7 questions that King Nimi has, that are answered by the 9 Yogendras, the other 7 of the 9 Yogendras. Sage Kavi and Sage Havir, they provide the response to the first 2 questions. And as you see, the second question had 3 parts, and even the first questions of the 3 questions had 3 parts. So they are in essence 5 set of questions under 1 question. So this is where the chapter ends. Please join us for Nasima Devati. Hare Krishna. सिंह नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.